it would help if I turn myself off of mute while I'm introducing everybody. There we go. And hello, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of our January Learning Bootcamp series, App Development with Apache Cassandra. All right. So before we get started, if you can all hear me and see me, give a thumbs up. Let us know that you can hear us and see us. Matter of fact, Rags and Cedric, if you want to say hello, that way we can get some thumbs up.
Yeah. So that's the third week. So week 3, and you get three speakers. Makes sense, right?
That's
Wait
does
for-
that mean next week we're gonna have 4 speakers? Did you just set that up? Thanks, Cedric. Nice job. Nice job.
Exactly.
Nice
Yeah,
job.
yeah. But again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I just like saying that, and glad to be here.
Wonderful. And I see Vladislav says all nice, and Wendy with thumbs up, Pavel, Scotty
Okay,
Satter,
so
and Marion. Sounds like
thumbs
they can
up.
hear us. All right, wonderful. All right.
Step number 1, right?
Right, exactly. So we can hear you and see you. Wonderful. Okay, so welcome again, everybody. And separate from the three of us who are on today, as usual, we have a whole set of our other advocates and part of the team that are on the chats, right? So if you have your questions, this is meant to be an interactive session. So if you have questions, no matter what they are, feel free to ask them in the YouTube chat, in the Discord chat, wherever we are, and we'll do our best to get to them. Now, to just start with who we are, I'm David Jones-Gilardi. I'm a senior developer advocate. I've got a bunch of years coding in various languages. I've,
Bunch.
a bunch, yeah, bunches of years. I've been certified in Oracle before. I'm certified in Cassandra today. I do lots of training and teaching and such like that, and I love learning with everybody. So hopefully one of these days we'll actually see some of you in a live event, like as an in-person live event. That would be really cool. Next on the docket here is Cedric Lemon. Cedric, tell us about you.
Yeah, happy to be here with you. So I'm leading the developer advocacy team at DataStax. I've done a lot of Java, Cassandra, and I'm doing a lot of API as well. And lately I had a chance to build the Astra SDK, so software development kit. That's everything you need to wrap the APIs around Astra, the tool that we have used for the past 2 weeks, and we will keep using in this bootcamp.
Awesome. And then over to Mr. Rags. Hey there, Rags.
All right.
Who are you, Rags?
Perfect. David, you took the easy option there because, a lot of people around the world have a tough time pronouncing my name. So,
I did take the easy option.
I just, yeah,
You're right.
Exactly.
Why did you call me out? Jeez, come on.
I'm Raghavan Srinivas, but I go by Rags. Easiest way to remember me is Rags, not to riches. One of the criticisms we have gotten from the past 2 weeks, and not quite criticism, but you've not been able to do a hands-on, right? I'm a mechanical engineer. I like to see things move, and the closest you can come to seeing things move is code, right? So we're gonna do a lot of code today, quite a bit, and actually, what I would urge you is kind of dig in a little deeper, go beyond what we're going to show in this workshop today. But I myself, I've worked on distributed systems. I mainly work on the middleware where things are working. As long as things are working fine, nobody even going to notice me, right? But the moment things are broken, then we are responsible, right? So I am a big champion of what I call as the inner loop, and I'm with distributed systems, Kubernetes, and all that. Things have gotten a lot easier. I come from a Cloud Foundry background, very easy to push applications, and so on. So that's kind of what I'm championing as well. So that's a little bit short introduction of myself.
Absolutely. And for the hands-on portion, I hope you all received the breadboards in your in the mail there. That's a double EE joke for anybody who knows what I'm talking about there. Anyway, so looking at the that was a terrible joke, honestly. I'm just going to call it out right there.
No, I like the breadboard joke. I really like it.
So looking at the agenda, what we're going to cover for today. So if you've been with us before, like, hi Casey, we saw Casey online earlier. We usually, and we're going to do it here, go through a little housekeeping, just kind of set you up for the tools that we're going to use today, the things to expect. Then we're going to branch out a little bit into a to-do application. Very simple CRUD application to use to kind of just show you the basics of how you can set up a backend with Apache Cassandra in various languages. So we're going to explore things in Java, JavaScript, and Python today. Then we will look at, how do I connect my app to Cassandra, right? What does it take to do that? And then we'll follow up with executing some basic CRUD statements. Now, the key thing about this is going to form the basis of some of what you're going to do in the homework, right? So a lot of what we're going to do today with you is going to be showing, right? You can follow along and things like that, and kind of explaining, how do you do the basic CRUD operations, but the homework is actually going to have you do something a little bit on your own. And then following up that last section is going to be our swag quiz, as usual, the homework for you, and what is coming up in the next week. Okay, so this is week 3 of our 4-week bootcamp series in Learning January. And guess what? If you weren't with us in the previous weeks, no big deal, right? The whole goal of this 4-week bootcamp is to prepare you and get you set up to be able to take your Apache Cassandra development certification. But again, if you haven't been with us in the previous weeks, you can just go to the repo. The one repo that we're going to share today has all the information, all the homework and everything. And again, it's designed to give you all the materials and everything that you need for certification. So this week is focusing on the back-end pieces, where in the previous weeks we gave you intro to Cassandra, Cassandra fundamentals, what is it all about, how does it work, then we moved into data modeling, and now we're going to take that knowledge and we're going to apply it to some of the back-end pieces, and how do you start coding with Apache Cassandra. And then week 4 will be taking that one step further and building API and microservices as well for Apache Cassandra. I know Cedric is leading that one, and Cedric is totally like an API person. So if you want to get APIs,
I am. Get ready.
Get ready. All right. So now the cool thing about these is each one of these sessions that we do, you can earn yourself a nice badge, right? And you can brag about them. You can put them on LinkedIn and such. And we actually have quite a few now. And I know that there are some folks out there that like to like Pokemon, right? They like to get them all. So what do you need to do to get the badge? Well, the first thing you need to do is attend one of our streams. You're attending one right now. We also have one tomorrow that is a little better for folks in EMEA and APAC time-wise, but just attend one of the live stream events, right? And during the events, we'll do that on YouTube and Twitch. Twitch we kind of use as a backup. We can handle questions both in the YouTube chat, but then also in Discord. Notice that link up at the top right of the page here, this Discord. We'll drop that. Nightbot should be dropping Discord at some point in the chat here soon. One of the things to point out about Discord is great from a persistence standpoint. YouTube, while we're doing the stream, will be answering your questions and stuff. But then the second the stream ends, so does the YouTube chat. So if you've got follow-up questions about your homework, or if you want to connect to our 20,000 strong community or something like that, you really want to go to Discord, right? And sign up for the Discord server. On the bottom there, again, if you've been with us, you'll be familiar with this, but if not, we use menti.com. That is where we're going to ask you some questions, and then we're going to do our swag quiz later. So you're going to want to pull that up here very soon. Okay, so first thing, attend one of the streams, then complete the labs. Rags is going to go through those with you today. So that's part of your homework. The labs are going to use a combination of set of tools. One of those is going to be AstroDB, which is DataStax's database as a serverless database as a service. I love service as a service. That's always funny to say, but it's our serverless system built on Apache Cassandra. So this allows you to launch a fully fledged Apache Cassandra cluster in just a couple minutes, right? It's compared to having to completely roll it your own. What's cool is all the stuff we use is going to be free, right? So you don't have to worry about kind of any paywalls or anything like that. Today, we will also use Gitpod. So if you're not familiar with Gitpod, it's a VS Code IDE. It is offered by GitHub, so it's actually linked into the GitHub repository. So the very place that we're going to follow Rags through the exercises, you'll be able to spin up a cloud-based IDE. It'll be pre-configured for you and everything, so we really recommend taking that path. And then GitHub as well is where the repository is for us to do the work.
I mean, even though it's GitHub, you can use it with like GitLab as well if you want. So it's a pretty independent IDE in the cloud, so to say. And David, while you're talking, should we let the audience into the secret that we were talking about like the Bootcamp Warriors or something. If you do all the homework, should we let them in on the secret?
I mean, if you
or
want
we
to,
haven't
I mean,
decided?
you're telling them about it now. You might as well tell them.
Might as well, right? Yeah. So the idea is, if you complete all the workshops, do the homework and all that, we are discussing the fact that you take the time to do all this, to at least have a moniker, something like a bootcamp warrior or something. We haven't quite figured it out. We welcome suggestions as well. So the idea is that you are able to start from scratch, but at the end of week 4, you are able to show a completely working app. That's the goal, and we want to reward you for that.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll see. Well, more to come on that one. So then complete the labs that we're going to do today. Then we're going to give you some more learning materials. I believe this week, part of which you're going to be assigned in DataStax Academy is DS220, data modeling, to work through some of the items there. Again, this is getting you on the path to certification, right? So if you've been with us so far and you've been doing the homework, you would have already gone through all of DS201, which is Cassandra Fundamentals. And now we'll be going to DS220, which is data modeling. And both of those are needed for your certification. And then with that, the tools there, academy.datastax.com. Again, all the stuff, by the way, all these resources, they're given to you in the repo. Like, we're not just going to leave you to kind of figure that out on your own. So we'll give you all the resources and everything that you need. All right, finally, then we will give you a form in the homework. It's going to have some questions, our weekly test, right? Kind of shows us that you've been paying attention or you've learned some things. And like I said, there will be a little extra piece there in the homework for you to write a little code of your own. And if you do all those things, then you can get your badge for the week. Now, this week is this cool one over here, this Build a Cassandra backend. So far, we've had the introduction to Cassandra and data modeling. Next week, I like that badge, by the way. This one looks really neat. The Build APIs and Microservices one. And what's really even another level of cool, right, is if you get all 4 of these, there's like a super badge. You get like a super badge you can get for doing all 4. All right, so Ragzin,
it's a ticket. It's a golden badge.
Yeah, it is a golden badge. It is a golden badge. So if you want to be like Charlie and, get your golden badge and end up at Willy Wonka's, then there you go. That's how you do it. All righty. So
one other question that we got.
I was about to ask about questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question we get is, when can I submit my homework? Is it due next week?
Yeah.
We realize that you're all busy professionals. So even though, we insist on the homeworks, we are a little bit relaxed on that. So don't take too long, but I think you will have time until February, to maybe at least a little into February to complete that. Okay.
Yeah, on that, Rags. So not been announced yet, but we really want you to be certified on Cassandra.
Yeah,
so
right.
The target is really that you will have all the materials after 4 weeks. Then we will give you some time to review, and mid-February we will do like training the certification. Are you ready for the certification, like a dry run exam live like today for you? Having the homeworks done by mid-February would be great to be ready.
Yep.
Alrighty, so everybody, you may have noticed on the screen, I just flashed up a QR code and a code. So join us here at menti.com, or you can just scan the QR code with your phone as well. And let's see, how many folks do we have with us today? All right, so we should probably be able to get at least 80. What do you think, 80 in there? Join us on menti.com. So what we're going to do here is we're going to ask you a couple questions, just to kind of, find out where you're from, get a couple pieces of information for the work that we're going to do today. Later on, though, today, we're going to use Menti for your swag quiz, right? So we want to encourage everybody to join us there. Let's see, how are we doing? Okay, I got 40 in. Let's get some more folks on. I'll put the QR code back up.
And the code will be always written at the very top of the screen.
Yes.
So even when David switched to the other screen,
like
the code is always at the top.
Yep.
So open a new tab, menti.com, enter this code, and keep this new tab open to the very end of the workshop, because at the end we will play a game together.
That's right. And we'll have fun music. All right, I think we can go ahead, and while people are getting in, we'll just start asking some questions. So the first one here, where are you from? I think this is one of my most fun parts. I love this part. You know, we have a lot of times people answer in the chat and such, and before we had this map, but this is just so cool. It shows really how connected we all are, even though we're across the globe. And it's always wonderful to see people from different parts of the world where it's like 11 p.m. or something. So thank you for joining us when it's that late for you.
We have some from Alaska.
Oh yeah, we do. Check that out.
That is very cool.
Now, either someone's from one of the Caribbean islands or in the ocean. So if you're on a yacht, please invite us to your yacht. Yeah.
Exactly.
Lots of folks from India. Look at all the folks from Africa. This is wonderful. Oh, wow.
It's still amazing to see all dots popping up, right?
Yeah.
Never get tired. Oh, we have one from New Zealand.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
Hello.
that's good to see how we can be distributed. That's just great.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. We've got one down in South America as well. Oh, now, who is that way up north? I see some folks up in like Scandinavia and everything, but that's like way up north. That's amazing.
So Elena responded she's not on a yacht, but is in Cuba, I think.
Oh,
Or
is
maybe
it
she's on a
Cuba?
yacht in
Okay.
Cuba.
I'm in Florida, by the way, so hello. We're neighbors. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for filling that part out. That's always fun to see. And first question, which of the previous sessions in this January Bootcamp series have you attended? Always curious to see. Oh, we got some I just got here.
Just got here. That's what we were expecting a lot.
Yeah. By the way, if you just got here, as I think Rags was saying earlier, no big deal. If you're like, oh my God, there's all this homework, do it at your own pace. It's not a concern at all. Okay, so we have, oh look, we have a good, like a third of the people are from both previous weeks. Wonderful. This is an interesting.
This is more or less what we expected, did we? Or did we expect more of the I just got here? I'm not quite sure.
There's always new folks. I'm actually happy to see so many folks come in from the previous ones as well. Okay. All right, thank you.
Welcome back, those 39 people.
Yes, welcome back. And the 15 and 11 from week 1 and week 2.
Sure.
All right, thank you, everybody. Next question. Have you finished all of your bootcamp homework? This is the time for us to shame you. Totally shaming you. I'm totally. Oh, wow, we've got some yeses. Honestly, it's a lot of stuff.
Honestly, it's not easy.
I wasn't entirely sure we were going to get many yeses yet. So that's wonderful. Wow, there's a lot of yeses. Wow, you're all on top of it. Yes, there is homework for those. Wait, there's homework. Yes, there's homework. Again, it's up to you if you want to do it. You choose what you want to put in from this standpoint. Again, the goal for us, other than information sharing, not shareage, and learning together and stuff like that, is to get you the information you need to get your Apache Cassandra certification, right? And while folks, a quick anecdote, right? Like, from a career standpoint, back in the day when I got my Oracle certification, this is a long time ago now, that one thing got my foot in the door at more places just because, right? It's no different with Apache Cassandra, and Cassandra admins and Cassandra operators are actually some of the highest paid. Like there's some wonderfully paying jobs for that. So it is a lucrative business to get into. So if you have any interest in getting your certification, whether you want to be an admin or you're a core developer and you want to know how to work with Apache Cassandra, it's worth it, right? It's absolutely worth it. Okay. And I see a lot of people created the database and some use some to-dos tables. So we'll get you going with all that today as well. And then last one for the questions, what language driver are you planning to use for this workshop? You can choose more than one, by the way. You don't have to do one, but it's up to you. We'd like to always get a feel. This is my third cup of coffee today. Is it too much? Do you think I've had too much? Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is too much?
Yeah.
This is about what we expected, right? Most people are going to try Python, quite a few in Java. This helps. For the undecided, that's kind of, I'm just curious what that means, right? They're going to decide by the end of the workshop, hopefully.
Yeah,
right?
that's okay. The cool thing about it, and I give mad props to Rags and Stefano and Chris and team, the repos that we're going to go through, the exercises, it's been set up. This is actually quite cool. When you spin up that Gitpod IDE, it's going to set up all 3 of them for you at once, and you can choose any of them, and it's seamless. So hopefully that will be really cool for everybody. So if you're undecided, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, and in fact, when I do the demo, I'll mix and match them if I can. So going from one language to another. So it really doesn't matter,
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can decide by the end of the workshop.
Absolutely. Okay, so with that, how are we doing then on questions? Is there anything else that we need to take into consideration from that standpoint before I move on?
I think the only question that came up was, can I get a badge even if I did not attend the previous workshop? Unfortunately, no, right?
Oh, you can.
Yeah, you can get the badge. Yeah.
As long as you do the homework, you're good,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if you do the homework and submit it,
That's
yeah.
not the work.
This session could be done. It's standalone. You won't get stuck if you did not attend the first 2 sessions. We will skip the data
You
model.
won't get the swag, right.
We will skip the data model piece, but you won't get stuck. You will do the exercises with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we strongly encourage you to do that, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get into the To-Do app. We're just going to look, just set some context, do a little bit demo and stuff like that, some pretty easy stuff. So if you've not used a To-Do app before, you probably have, but what's actually really cool about the To-Do app here is that there is both the To-Do MVC project and the To-Do backend project, which provide you with just about any language you can think of, from the front-end implementation and also the back-end implementation. And the To-Do app itself, the whole framework was built so you could explore a language and have, basic operations, those CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete, the core of anything for any application when working with the database that you need, right? So the To-Do MVC and back-end show you how to implement something very, very simple in both the front-end and the back-end, and then tie it back into the database. So that's why we're using this example here today. So the basic To-Do app is kind of what you see here. I'm going to show you a demo here in a second. But, I've got individual to-dos that I can add in. I can check their, status and such like that. So it's a pretty simple model. The key thing where I want to tie it into is what's going on up here. So notice these field names. So if you were with us last week, with the data modeling, you would have built this out. Now, don't worry about that. You're gonna end up building this out again today. We'll have it as part of the exercises. But just to power this little To-Do app, right, you need things like a user ID. Why? Because what happens if I have multiple users in my system? I don't want to just mash all of their to-dos together, right? So I need to differentiate on that. I have an item ID that will be representative of each to-do item. The title of the to-do item, whether it's completed, a Boolean there, right? Is it completed, true or false? And then the order, what order I want them in. So part of what I need to do in the back end is I need to implement this data model or a data model that supports these fields and this functionality to then power our To-Do app. And with that, let's go ahead and pop over. I've got a little bit of just a real simple demo. This is actually something really cool, by the way. If you notice where I'm at todobackend.com. This is part of To-Do MVC and To-Do Backend. If you go there, like I said, it provides all these languages. You can just hook it up and do things. So the first thing, what do we want to do? What to-dos do we have today? Conquer the galaxy. Okay, let's do that. Right. What else? Are you guys hungry? Do we need to eat more foods? Right, eat more foods. What else needs to be done? What do you think, Cedric, Rags, anything?
No ethics, no religion.
What was that?
Speed up to be on time.
Speed up and be on time.
End of the 2 hour.
I feel like, yeah, okay, there we go. Let's speed up, be on time. Okay, wonderful. So notice though, for one, I can enter in the to-dos, right? Now, when I do that, each of those items is actually being stored in the backend, right? That's being stored in the database, in the table. That's where it's persisting, right? And then these little checkbox, if I say it's completed, right? All these little kind of operations and stuff and things, all of that is being stored in the backend, and that's what we are going to do today. All right. Now, in order to do this, right, if you remember from last week, and if you weren't here, don't worry, we'll explain anyway. But from last week, through the data modeling piece, one of the core principles when you're data modeling for something like Cassandra is a bit different in the way that you might do it from a relational database where you're using things like normal forms, third normal forms, and such. In the relational sense, you're going to start with a set of data, and then you are going to model that data based off of normal forms. But Cassandra uses a denormalized data model, right? Now, by the way, if you're like, what are you talking about? I would suggest you go back to last week. This is a refresher, right? So the material last week will cover this in detail and such like that. But generally speaking, it's a denormalized data model. But the key thing I want you to take away right here is this. In Cassandra, you start both with your application workflows and your conceptual data models. You don't even need to know the data at this point, right? These two enough. Matter of fact, the application workflows, you can literally napkin out a basic UX of your app and generate your data model in Cassandra this way. And if you go through the previous week and the data modeling stuff, you'll see how to do that. But you use both conceptual data model and your application workflows. You use that to then generate what's going to be first your logical data model down after you optimize and stuff to your physical data model. And the next slide, I'm going to show you some examples of this. And again, if you weren't here with us last week, no big deal. You can do that. But it's a pretty simple flow, right? And at the end of the day, you want something that looks like this, right? I want a table on my backend database that's going to support the requirements I have for the app. Now, if you take a look at the left-hand side, these fields should look familiar. These are the ones that we were talking about in the to-do app itself. Notice that user ID here has this K. That just means partition key, right? So I'm going to partition by my user ID, right? And that way, for any particular set of to-do items for user, I can just make one read and I'm going to get all of those to-do items back. Also, you might notice this C. This is a clustering column. So in Cassandra, that means how I'm going to either set uniqueness or ordering. Now, something interesting about our item ID field here is a time UUID. So the UUID is a unique identifier, and then there's a timestamp. This is a nice little object, so it combines both. What this means, though, is I can time order data, right? So not only for this particular table can I get all the to-do items for an individual user, I will automatically get them sorted by time order. And then the rest of the fields, things like completed, I mentioned it was a Boolean, all the types of fields you could imagine that you might see in a relational database, you'll also see here as well. Then once I have, this is my my physical data model here. This is the output of this, right? This is going to be where I'm going to eventually output. Then I can just translate that right into a create table statement, right? So you'll notice I've got my create table. Here's my table name. Here are the fields. Here are their types. That coincides exactly with what's going on here. The difference, though, is this primary key. Well, I said user ID is my partition key. So I'm going to say, okay, primary key, here's my user ID in the parens that I'm saying I'm partitioning by user ID. And then comma, everything after it's a clustering column. And I said, okay, I have an item ID here, and I'm going to order by time, right? So I'm saying I want the to-do items table with these fields partitioned by user ID, then ordered by item ID. And then the result of that, if you take a look down here at the bottom, you can see in this query, right, where once I've implemented it, I've inserted some data. We're going to do this today, by the way. Then I'm going to look at all of the to-do items by user John, and here they are. They're going to be in time order, and you can see the individual to-do items. All right, so that's essentially kind of a refresher of some of the stuff we did from last week. Now what we want to do is move it over to Mr. Rags to bring you through, get the database set up if you haven't done that already, and get our initial Astra instance going.
Perfect. You guys can hear me? Just want to make sure.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. So now is the time. If you miss the first 2 weeks, you need a database to do the hands-on later. So we will just take 5 to 10 minutes just for everyone to have the database to be able to do the exercises.
Yeah. So that's great, and my screen is being shared as well, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Don't do anything bad, Rex. Don't do anything bad. Your screen's...
No worries. So first, let me make sure. For those of you who've already been to the 2 weeks before, you probably have already created a database. You've probably already created the key space and all that. So let me talk about that first. So you're going to go back to the Astra dashboard. right? And basically it's astra@datastax.com, or you can click on the link that's provided, in the YouTube. If you go down, you can see the Astra link. There are a number of ways of getting here. If you've already done this, you probably know this, right? But if you look at your dashboard, okay, you will see that some of these might be in standby mode. You see here, these are in standby mode. My only thing running right now is my workshops, right? So if you've already created this workshops database, what I suggest you do is, just click on it and make sure that it goes active, right? If you're active, give us a thumbs up, that it's good to go, right? And if you want to take it one step further, you can click on the database itself and make sure that this to-dos key space exists. Okay. So all of this is in the instruction. So if you want to connect to your database, you want to make sure that this key space to-dos is active, right? So give us a thumbs up if you're done with that. But for those of you who may have missed the first 2 weeks, no sweat, right? Again, go back to the to the GitHub repository, okay, and go into week 2 data modeling, or week 1 intro to Cassandra. You can kind of look for it, right? And basically, the only thing you need to know is the database name and the key space name. Okay, so this one is a little different. Chat Sandra, don't use that, but use the to-dos. Okay, and this will basically talk about, I believe the week 2 data modeling should cover that. Okay, and you'll see here the database name is workshop and the key space name is to-dos. So how do I get there, right? So essentially, again, you're going to click on that Astra link, right, and go there, and then you're going to do this create database. It might ask you, why am I going to be using my Astra and all that, and then you just click on the create database, okay, and put in the values for database name, okay, which is workshops, okay, and to-dos. Again, just follow the README, right? I'm not going to do that because I've already done this, okay, and really you can pick a particular region. Okay, I just picked the one that's closest to where I am. So in this particular case, I'm in North America, so I picked North America, and then I put this South Carolina. I think we're consolidating regions a little bit now. For those of you who might have used this before, you might be wondering, why are there not enough regions? But if you want more regions, more choices, and all that, you can definitely, either do a live chat and ask for it to be enabled, or what you can do is you can put in your credit card. But the cool thing about using the free tier is that you get $25 every month, and you can run some significant production workloads. Not recommended, but because you're doing it only in one region and all that, right? But you can still do fairly significant things without even putting your credit card. All that you need is your email, and you're good to go. Is there anything else I missed, David or Cedric?
No, reading the question and some glitch here and there, but yeah, I think we are doing great.
All right. So at the end, when you're going to get back here, basically what you're going to see is you're going to be in a dashboard, and you should see that workshops is up and running, right? It basically is in active mode. So if you want to start that, go ahead and start that, because the next in the next exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to download the credentials and start using it in GitHub. But if you want to keep this active, and every now and then you may want to get back here, because what it does is it times out. So you may want to kind of keep an eye on it if you don't if you want to not get back to it and restart it again, or relog in and all that. Okay, so pretty much it. With that, should we proceed?
Yeah, let's do it. I saw a set of thumbs up that came in, and we could do that. So Cedric, then we'll go ahead and pop it back on over to Cedric for the next section.
Sure. And yeah, look at that. I'm big on screen. Yeah. Cool.
See, I'm fair about this. Okay, I didn't just make me in that spot there.
Okay, right. So it will take a few minutes for the database to initiate or get out of hibernation. So this is enough time for us to let's dig into coding. Okay, so let's pretend the database is ready. Today is all about building a backend, so coding. So what I will show you now is explain you all the principle, what you should do at the application level to connect to the database. And then each time I will show you the sample code in the 3 languages, JavaScript, Java, Python, even C#. Okay. And after explaining 1 and 2 principles, we will go to hands-on and you will do the exercises with the language of your choice, one of the 3 here. Okay, so these sessions work with all the profiles, JavaScript backend or frontend, JavaScript or Java. Everybody would be happy. Okay, so let's get rolling. Next slide, please. All right, so that's the big architecture diagram. Let's say the first 2 weeks we focused on the database tier. Okay, the lane on the right. We do have the database running. Today is all about the backend. We will build something that will rely on a library called the driver to connect to Cassandra. So first things to know is to connect to the database, you need a driver. The driver is a library that will encode all the binary communication between your code and the database. So you will see it expose what we call an API, not REST API, but an API in the sense of exposing some interfaces for you to use the database. Okay, let's move on. So the drivers can do a lot for you. And if you are on the DataStax developer YouTube channel, if DataStax is well known in the Cassandra community, is to provide all the drivers in multiple languages. So here you see all the languages and all the features that you can find in this library. Okay, so not only you will connect and execute some queries, parse the result, and do some object mapping, sure. But you do have way more, like else check, connection pooling, reconnection, retry, load balancing, else check. Everything is part of the driver. So for some reason, if one of the node goes down at the database level, the driver will load balance for you on another node, and you don't even notice. So that's really, really reliable. And you have nothing to do at your end. The failover will happen for you. We won't cover all of those today. Don't worry. We will do the create, read, update, delete operations. Okay. Okay. Let's get rolling. All right. So I told you you need a single library, the driver. Here, 4 ways to import the drivers based on the language you are using. So Java, you can use Maven Gradle. Here I put the Maven extract of pom.xml. If you are using JavaScript and the node stack, this is the npm command that we'll use. If you are using, this is the pip command, pip or pip3 with Python 3. And if using C#, the library are also available on NuGet. So single library. This is how to download it and make it available in your project. All right. With that library now available, let's see what we can do.
So Cedric, good question about connection pooling. What do you mean by connection pooling? Are you getting there, or do you want to take
I can talk quickly about it. So the driver will maintain an active communication with every single node. Okay. And so you need to have a pool of active connection. And if one connection goes down, you need to have a pool available to open a new connection. That's done at the driver level. Also, when you do have a query to execute against your database, you will pick one of the available thread in the pool to execute your query. So a pooling for the connection and a pooling for the queries to execute.
Yeah, I think it's obvious, but one of the most expensive operations of database access is the connection, right? So you definitely want to do the connection pooling so that you can optimize on that, and rather than you do it, you let the platform do it for you.
That's right. Yeah,
Exactly.
and something to point out. This is going to be I'm purposely pointing out something for the homework and such is think of all the capability that Cedric was talking about and what Rag just pointed out, right? And that is then being encapsulated in your session object. We'll talk more about that. I don't want to take too much of Cedric's thunder, but something to keep in mind for some upcoming questions. That's really important. It's my foreshadowing. That's my question foreshadowing.
Okay. Speaking of connectivity, connection, so you will need to contact your database. So you need to provide an IP address and a port. So the port is on which socket your database is listening for your connection. Default on Cassandra in 9042. Never mind. This is what we called a contact point, IP port. Only one is necessary because as soon as the driver is able to contact one node, this node will communicate the IP and the port of everyone. So the token will be aware of the topology of the cluster. And with this first connection, is now able to do all the load balancing and health check that I've just told you about. Still, it's a good practice to have at least in your connection, in your settings, 3 nodes per data center defined for the contact points. Why? Oh, this is because at the first connection during application initialization, if for some reason this very contact point is not available, the driver will fail over to another one. And with that, you're totally sure that the application will start. Okay, so what does the code look like with this contact point? So let's look on the next slide. Okay, so here you go. So as you can see, here we will initialize an object, very important object called the session, so SQL session in the Java, and client. It's called a client in Node. Yeah, it's session in Java and Python and C# and a client in Node. Nevertheless, you see what you need: the contact point, IP and port, the key space name. So here we will use to-dos, user password. Okay, of course, you don't want to let your database open. And something called the local data center. So if you recall, week 1, we explained that Cassandra could live on multiple data centers across the world. So here we just tell the drivers, hey, this is the data center that I would like to work with to reduce the latency. And what will happen? The driver will fail over to the next data center only if the local one fail. That's really for latency and performance reason. Okay, but here we are using a cloud service. So the database you just created is Astra DB. It's a software as a service, and we cannot open the port like that 9042 for everyone. It's not the way the web work. You cannot really open this port. You need to work through HTTP. So to do so, at Astra level, we have designed and defined some proxies and load balancer with no single point of failure. And you will need at the driver level to add a zip file. It's called the Secure Connect bundle. This zip file will contain everything you need to open a two-way TLS tunnel between you and the server to be able to do all the communication, keep the session open. Remember, this session is stateful. to do the health check and load balancing. So in the hands-on, you will see that we will not provide contact point with IP and port. We will provide the credential, user password. We will provide a cloud secure bundle, and we will provide the key space. Okay. In Astra, the username is your client ID when you generate a token, and your password is client secret when you generate a token. Okay, so what does the code look like with Astra? So let's move. All right, so here you see the new code, and we switch from contact points with IP and port to with cloud secure bundle, and we provide the zip each time. So no need to take a screenshot or note. You will get some help in the different hands-on. See, so each time you see a cloud field or a cloud property that is populated with the secure.zip file.
That would be really mean of us to make them copy the stuff off the screen.
Yeah. Go back in time and copy paste.
All right, go to timestamp. 12:47 or 47 minutes.
That's funny, but I remember one time I did that. Just the command to enter, not as something you can copy paste, but just an image for people to realize exactly what the command was doing.
There you go. Yeah.
Unique, so anyway, so these connection or client you will initialize with all the parameters I share you. Again, is a stateful object. So it will open under the hood a lot of multiple TCP socket, one for each node. So it should be unique in your application. Okay, you create what we call a singleton, and this SQL session is available across your application. That also you need to clean stuff. A lot of TCP sockets are open. You want to close them properly, right? So at the end, when you want to shut down your application, you need to also invoke session.close to properly close all these sockets, all these open TCP connections. To do so, we are using the pattern called the shutdown hook. So shutdown hook, as the name stated, when you trigger a shutdown, the hook will notice that a shutdown is happening and will execute some code. And depending on which language you are using, it's those are different. In Java, the most the most I know, you do java.getRuntime.shutdown hook, or you can also use some Spring mechanism when you close the application. All righty. So with that, you should have everything you need to connect to the database. So now I think I will hand over to Rags for Rags to explain how you create the database. So now is the real deal. You will have your stuff connected to your database.
Perfect.
All right, Rags, you ready? You got your setup going?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Cedric.
All
All right, let's get started. Again, where do I start? You start at the GitHub repository. Just make sure, you are in the week 3 app development, right? Number of ways to get there, okay? And then we're going to start, right? I hope by this time you have created the to-dos key space and good to go. If anybody needs help, please let us know and we'd be glad to help. Okay. If you don't have that, you pretty much can't do anything, in today's workshop. So please get help if you need it. But again, it's pretty straightforward. What you're doing is you're setting up a database and you're setting up a key space. I know I saw a couple of questions about, not every region being available. Just go ahead and use the Google Cloud because like I said, we are trying to consolidate regions and maybe there are some issues, but I think Google Cloud should be fine and it should work. Okay. And notice that, these, some of these images are actually animated GIFs. So, it kind of walks you through pretty extensively of how to do this. And we are about to jump in to start our workshop. Okay. So with that, there was one question that maybe we can take after I finish up. All right. So what I'm going to do is, again, go back to my Astra console, dashboard, whatever you want to call it, right? And then what I want to do is, again, just follow these steps that are given here, right? So go to generate a token. That's the first thing you're going to do. First, make sure that it's active, up and running, right? And then I'm going to go into organization settings. And I'm going to go to token management and pick the role database administrator and click generate a token, right? Pretty straightforward. So let me see if my organization settings are somewhere here, right? So click on organization settings. Okay, and then token management. Okay, and then, select a role. You're going to select database administrator and then generate a token. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So if you click on this, you'll get a screen. I'm not going to create one more, but you will see a screen which kind of looks like this, right? And essentially, it'll let you in to the client ID, the client secret, and the token, as you can see here, right? The best way to kind of use this in your program is to download this as a CSV and keep it handy, because we are going to do that, almost immediately. Okay, so we're going to use that almost immediately. All right. So client ID, client secret, and token is what you're going to need, and you're going to download it as a CSV. To recap, what you're going to do is you're going to go to organization settings, token management, pick the role database administrator, and generate the token. And then what you're going to do is you're going to essentially download it as a CSV and keep it handy. All right. You could keep the application tab around, but typically what happens is, after a while it times out and you're just going to run into some issues. Okay. So I have my, a token saved, basically as a CSV file. All right. All right.
Oh, hey, Regs, Casey's asking if we can just slow down just a little bit.
Okay.
Let them catch up. As a matter of fact, maybe we can get to the next stopping point and get some thumbs up and make sure folks are caught up with us.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah. Why don't we wait here for a little bit before I launch GitPod, right?
Yeah, I think we can wait.
Yep.
Yeah, just for everyone to have the token and the database.
That's
and,
right.
Yeah,
because
as soon as we are in GitPod, we could as well go fast. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you've got your token ready to go, give us a thumbs up, right? Let us know that you've got. I saw Pavel download the CSV, and Marcus. There we go. And Lias. I hope I said that right, Lias. I'll admit from where I am in my part of the world, I felt so ignorant when I saw Lias's name last week, because to me that's lies, but that's clearly not how you pronounce it. And so I was schooled on the name. I thought that was really neat.
Let's see some thumbs up if you're able to.
Yes, the user you should the role you should pick is either administrator database or administrator organization.
Oh, it's Lee's. Thank you, Lee's. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, should I go ahead and open my GitPod?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Give it a,
yeah, I don't see why we're getting a good solid amount of thumbs up. It seems like some folks are still coming in.
Give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, just give it another minute, maybe.
Yeah, I expect also a lot of people already have their DB running.
That's right.
Maybe they do have to create a new token. Maybe they don't remember the old one from last week.
I don't think they used it last week. Maybe not.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't need them. Yeah, we weren't hooking up with applications. Yeah,
right.
So I think it's all net new token creation right now.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is a new new step, so to say.
And
Believe me, and these are the toughest parts. Once you get this going, once you're in GitPod, it's like, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and Casey, funny enough, Casey just asked, can you reuse the same one? Yeah, you totally can.
You totally can.
If you've been with us before and you've already created a database token, you can just reuse it. The reason why we're having you go through the step again, just in case, is if you didn't download the CSV or something, if you don't have those credentials handy, then you can just create another one, right? You can create n number of tokens. That's not an issue. So, but if you do have it, Casey, then by all means, reuse it.
All right. So let me go ahead and launch GitPod.
All right.
So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to hover over here, and essentially the best way is to open the link in a new tab or open the link in a new window, whatever suits your fancy. Or if you want to just copy the link and put it in a different browser, there are a number of different ways of doing this, because essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using GitPod, and you're going to be using this instructions in the GitHub repository. And usually it's nice to kind of keep them separate, right? Yeah. So when you open this link in new tab or open the link in new window, it will take a little bit of time and you will see something like this. Okay, so I have this in a different tab.
Oh, so right. Rags, just so you know, when you go to that other tab, I don't know, it looks like the top of your screen's a little cut off. So I don't actually see multiple tabs. Yeah, I just see you flip from one to the other.
Oh, okay.
But no worries. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Or? Yes. Now I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave it like that for a little bit. Okay, so essentially what you can do is, you can click on this, and if you say open link in new tab, you're going to get a new tab. If you open link in new window, you're going to get a new window, and so on. So pretty straightforward, right?
And real quick, Rags, I want to. Asks a really good question. Is it a token per database or a token per user? It's a token per user. So you could potentially, with a single token, use that across your databases, right? One thing that we recommend, though, is if you have multiple applications, is you create a token per application, right? That way, from a logging perspective, security perspective, right? If you ever need to revoke a token, you're not revoking it for everything across the board. You're revoking it for that one application, but it is per user. Thank you for asking that.
And the Secure Connect bundle is per database, correct?
Data center. If your database do have multiple regions, you will have one secure bundle per region.
Good point. Okay, yeah. But
yeah,
I kind of assume that it's per database, and just to be safe, right? I just go with
I mean, you are safe because we will work with a single region.
Exactly.
But Astra allow to create multiple regions, so you can have the same database living in region USA and region EMEA, and Astra will do the replication in two ways for you.
Yeah. No, this is great because even though I'm doing this workshop, I'm learning as well. So this is fantastic. The idea is to up-level everybody's skill. All right. So let me proceed. Hopefully you have GitPod running. Leave it running for a little bit. And should you get some thumbs up before I proceed with the next step? Because you got to have GitPod running. So if you have GitPod running, please put a thumbs up in the chat.
Yep.
We'll give it a couple of time. If you're having difficulties, please let us know. We'd be happy to help. Perfect. Tirupati.
Cool. It's coming. Yep, they are coming.
It's coming through.
Right. We love Gitpod. It's amazing. So you do have an ID in the cloud. Okay, fine. If you look here in the terminal, you can do Node.js, Python, Java. You can do Docker as well. And you have nothing to install. That's just amazing. You have all the extension from VS Code, or at least a wide range of extension. For us doing labs, that's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't talk enough about GitPod, and I'll let you in a secret. We are gonna have a DataStax Astra plugin, which is not fully functional right now, but it's still going to be available for you. If you want to play around with it, play around and give us some feedback. But what we have done is we have also integrated the SQL console here. Okay, so if you do a select star from to-do items, Okay, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, I know, but you will see that everything is in Gitpod, so you don't even need to leave Gitpod, which is cool, and that's the reason why we kind of rave about it.
Yes, so and for those who asking, it's not exactly the same screen when you start up Gitpod. This is probably because Rags already opened one of the source code.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
I think Rags is already in a running Gitpod. Rags, do you
Yes.
have a brand new one or
Actually-
just the running one?
Yeah, let me get rid of this. I could definitely bring up another one. What's the big deal?
I
Right?
mean,
So
or
what
just open the README, because
Yeah.
now people just have the README open. So
yeah,
just
okay,
open.
okay. So let me talk about Gitpod. Yeah, good question. Good point. So now, getting familiar with Gitpod is probably a good idea. So take some time, even if it's like 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, whatever, the case may be. You will see, what Cedric was saying. There are 3 parts really that we'll be kind of interacting with, if you will. The left part is what is referred to as the file explorer. That's the typical file explorer. Like, we already mentioned this is Visual Studio Code in the cloud, right? In a browser. So the file explorer window is on the left. You can always bring that up by clicking on the hamburger menu and saying File Explorer, and I'll show that to you. This is the editor window. So number 1, number 2, and number 3 is the terminal window, or Gitpod terminal. That's what we call it, or Gitpod CLI, whatever you want to call it. That window, and we'll primarily be issuing the commands, through window number 3. Okay. Window number 2 is for editing. Window number 1 is for kind of exploring what's in the in the repo, right? So as soon as you click on that particular link, what it does is it clones the repository, and essentially what it does is it provides you with a view to the repository. You can do Git pushes from right there. Obviously, you can't do a Git push into the repository that you're cloning because you don't have permissions. But if you want to, kind of fork it yourself and then use Gitpod, you can do that. There are ways of doing that. Okay. So if you want to get to the File Explorer view, you can just click on the hamburger and then say View and then Explorer, and you can always get that back. Okay. At the top right of the window, there is a plus sign which allows you to create multiple shells. So again, kind of familiarize yourself with it. Sometimes you might see this. Is it okay to copy images to the clipboard? Just say hello and you're good.
Yeah, and something to point out about that little dialogue, that'll happen the first time you try to paste something into Gitpod. So if there's code or anything, and sometimes that dialogue is hard to see, and you might not notice it and wondering, why can't I paste? So if you cannot paste, make sure you're looking for that little dialogue that Rags has shown you.
Exactly. We're not going to open any ports today, so not to worry about it. But next week we're going to open up ports, and we're going to go through that later. We usually get this question, so I'm trying to preempt this. Is how can I set my preferences, right? So just go to gitpod.io/preferences after you're logged in, and you can pick the different themes, light, dark, system, and so on. Okay. All right. So now comes the setup for the application. Are you guys ready? Yes?
Oh.
All right. And this is the cool part. This is the cool part because Cedric already mentioned this. It doesn't matter what driver you're using because it's really based on the data center, right? So whether you're using Node.js, Python, or Java, it doesn't matter. We're going to use that in a second. So how do I do that, right? Again, go back to the console. Okay, and go back to the dashboard. I'm just going to go back to the dashboard. Okay, this is where my dashboard is, right? Go to workshops. Okay, and just hit the connect part, right? And then you will connect using a driver. You will see that on the left, right? Connect using an API, but here's the driver part. Okay, and really you can pick any of these, it doesn't matter because we know now that it's really based on the data center, right? So you can pick Python, you can pick Java, you can pick C#, you can pick C++, it doesn't really matter, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the download bundle and basically click on the Secure Connect bundle, okay? And what it's going to do is it's going to download it locally. You can see here, Secure Connect workshops.zip, right? So it's downloaded locally. There are a number of ways of putting it into Gitpod. Eventually, we have to get it into Gitpod, right? But the easiest way of doing this is probably this, what I'm going to show in the next few steps, okay? So I'm going to exit the full screen mode, okay? And I'm going to go into my Finder window, okay? So here's my Finder window, and you'll see here the Secure Connect workshops.zip, right? I'm going to go to my Gitpod tab, okay? Go back to my Finder window, and all that I'm going to do is take this and drop it here, okay? So just make sure that you're dropping it in the right directory, okay? And all of that, you walk through that. You just need to put it in the home directory, and you should be good, okay? So you'll see here, you will see my Secure Connect workshops.zip is in the top level directory, okay? And just to make sure that you did it correctly, we have a way, to verify this. Just go into, ls, just do ls-l of the Secure Connect workshops, okay? And you should be able to see it, okay?
Can you show, Sylvain's asking, Rags, if you can show how you got to the dashboard there in Astra, just maybe go through that process real quick again.
Sure. Okay. So you basically hit on dashboard, okay? Or if you've already gone through the organizations, you can just go back, so keep going back until you hit this dashboard, right? So hit the dashboard, okay, and then pick the database that you're interested in, that you want the Secure Connect bundle for, okay? And then hit the connect. And believe me, this is the toughest part of the workshop. After that, things will be very straightforward, right? So hit connect, right? And essentially what you can do is you can click on the bundle, okay? So you have the zip file. And once you have the zip file, then what you can do is you can put it in Gitpod, okay? And you can see here, I have the Secure Connect workshops.zip, okay? So if you go back here, I believe it's here. So I'm just going to cut and paste it. You can see here, Secure Connect workshops.zip, right? And basically it's about 12K, which tells you that you've correctly installed it, okay?
And something to point out, everything that Rags is doing is in the README, right? So okay. All of these steps are in the README. So if you ever need to, you can always go back and reference that, and you can see the steps there.
Exactly right. Okay. So let me go through a little bit more. Okay. Now you are gonna get into, the zip file is needed for all the workshops. So I just put it in the home directory. But there are certain things that we probably won't need it for the, next week. But this is the right time to get into this week. Okay, so to do that, all that you're going to do is you're just going to say CD and week 3, right? Apple, again, these were instructions are right there. Okay. And the first time around, you will see your .env file is not there. Okay. It'll look something like this, env.sample, where you have to put the Astra username and the Astra password, right? This is from the the CSV file that we did just a moment ago, right? So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to pick the username, which is the client ID, and the Astra password, which is the client secret. Okay. So let me see if I have it. And I can show you really quickly if I have it. So here's my token. Here's my, this is the CSV file that I have. So take my client ID, okay, and then the client secret. Okay, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to paste it into the Gitpod terminal. Okay. let me go back into full screen mode here. Right? And you're going to paste it here, okay? The username and the password. So maybe we should pause a little bit at this point, so that everybody's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, people really looking for this zip file. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm typing that one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Rags, if you wouldn't mind, can you pop over to the README real quick? Because I noticed looking at Paval's comment, right, where is right? Let's see. Oh wait, let's see. We want to go to the spot with the ls command, where you're doing an ls against the bundle. There you go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you see that, Paval? Where it says it's expected output. Yeah, don't copy that. You just anything that says expected output, that is what you should see.
Just ignore them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
yeah, that's just the output you should see. If you copy that, that's not going to work in a prompt, in a command prompt.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's easy to just cut and paste, but if you see the expected output, just ignore that, right?
Yeah, the expected output is just so you can verify what you're seeing in your console. That's not meant for you to copy.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I just realized, Rags, if you hover over the expected output, did you do that as a code block? Because it'll have a copy widget in it. And so I could.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, I wonder if people are thinking they have to copy it. Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's a code block. That's all. It's not actually meant for you to copy.
Exactly right. Yeah. All right. Should we wait for some thumbs up for those of you who have been able to get Gitpod up and running, and not only that, be able to download the zip file into Gitpod, right? Put it in Gitpod, and make sure that it's about 12K size, or is that? I know it's going to take a while, but this is a very critical step. I see Fedox is good. Can we see a few more thumbs up? Okay, good. Gunel, is that how you pronounce it? Oh, Taran has a double thumbs up.
I saw that.
So maybe
double thumbs up.
He's put the Astra username and password too in there. Maybe that's what it means. All right. So should I proceed? I think we have few thumbs up, right?
Yep.
All right.
We do.
So then what you're going to do is you're going to open the env. Okay, I'm not going to show all that because the instructions are pretty explicit. You open the env, copy the username and the password, and then run this command called plug Astra creds. Okay, and then do a git diff. And I'm gonna show you the git diff part of it. Okay, so essentially what you're gonna do is you're gonna copy the env.sample that we provided with the Astra username and password not provided, right? And then you're gonna add the username and the password, which is the client ID and the client secret from the spreadsheet, right? That you downloaded earlier, and then run this command plug Astra credits, because what it's going to do is it's going to plug in the username and passwords to the different languages. Everything is going to be done for you, right? And what I'm going to show here is the output of all that. I'm going to just do a git diff. Okay, and you'll see here, essentially you will see my, username from username, whatever, to username password. On the different, this one is, I believe the Node.js driver, and then the Python driver. All right.
Yeah, and just something to point out real quick: you do not need to put your username and password in quotes, right? You can just copy them literally as they.
Literally, just like that.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Oh, Hari, for the export piece. So. That is coming out of the example section, probably for one of the APIs. Rags, would you mind pulling up your .env file so they can see an example?
Yeah.
Right. The export. So when you go to the API section in Astra, instead of drivers, it's actually giving you export commands that you could use in your terminal to set up variables to just use with APIs. You don't need to put the export. So if you take a look at Rag's screen right there, okay. Oh, you're setting up a script, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm setting it up myself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. My bad.
Okay, so if you do the open, copy it just like that. Okay, and if you do the open env, it should have the username and the password. Okay.
And the username is your client ID, and the password is your client secret.
Client secret. Yeah. We're not going to use the token, the Astra token. Sometimes we use the Astra token, depending on the use case. But in this particular case, we're not. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, if you want me to show one example of this, let's see the EX6 connect to Astra.java, right? And what this is going to do is it's going to use a database connection. And if you go to database connection, it automatically sets this up. The connect bundle, the username, the password, and all that. Okay. You don't have to do anything. All right. All right. Let's see some thumbs up for those of you who are able to, plug in. One other thing I probably forgot to mention is if you go into Z shell, the Z shell, right? Then essentially it's going to take a little bit of time, which is a good sign, because what it's doing is it's connecting to SQL using the username and the password. Okay. So, if you see something like this, with a SQL SH, that means you're good to go. Okay, which means it's set up the username and the password and all that, and you're good to go. Okay. So you can do something like use to-dos, right? And select star from to-do items. Okay. And drop. I'm going to drop this. I'm going to be brave, right? To-do star, to-do items. All of this, SQL. What did I do wrong? I just do to-do items. Is it drop table? Okay.
Drop.
Yeah. This takes a little bit of time, the drop table, but don't be too concerned about it. Okay. Oh. All right, let me go back to this. Okay, so it's probably already done. Sometimes you do get that timeout that I've seen. So, all right. So can we get a thumbs up of when you guys are able to, kind of look at the SQL shell and user ID? User is a client ID. Okay.
Yeah,
And
I do see some thumbs up, but I will say for the amount of folks that we have on and the amount of thumbs up I saw before, I only see we should probably wait a little bit for some more folks. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
There's Lee's. I'm just gonna keep saying your name because I want to get it into my brain. Let's see,
Didn't Lee's win one of the swags some week? I remember. So, but hopefully you're getting ready for today's. All right. So we're seeing some thumbs up. If you're stuck, please let us know, because believe me, this is the toughest part of the whole bootcamp series. As strange as it may seem.
Wait for next week. No, just kidding.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this process, by the way, I was, when I was going through these myself, I was impressed with how you did it, Rags, because when you run that one script, it'll auto-populate all 3 languages for you. So you have examples in all of them, right? The cool thing, to Rags' point, once you get that ID, the secret, and your Secure Connect bundle, that's it, right? It'll handle all of the connectivity to your Astra cluster. It does it over SSL. It's secure, all that. And the joke I kind of like to make, but it's actually real, especially for Java folks. If you've ever had to code up SSL before, it is such a pain. You don't have to do any of that here. It's literally all encapsulated in the Secure Connect bundle. So you just need those 3 things, right? The client ID, the client secret, and your Secure Connect bundle across any of the languages, and the rest of it is all completely being handled for you. All right, I see a lot more thumbs up coming in. Okay, I think we're looking a little better.
All right. So let me proceed then. All right. So where was I? I think we are ready to do CRUD and Cassandra. CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete, right? So the first thing you're going to do, and this is probably going to be, especially for those of you who are undecided, you may have to pick one of these. Again, it doesn't matter, you can mix and match them, but I think it's easier just to stick with one if you can. Okay, and all of them work pretty much uniformly. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you set up the Astra username, password, and the Secure Connect zip, and now you're good to go. So I'm just going to pick Node, just because I like it, right? I didn't want to do that. Yeah. All right. So let me pick Node, which is exercise 6F in JavaScript. Okay, and now I'm good to go with Node. All right. So all that I'm going to do is, again, follow these steps. But what I would urge most of you to do is take a moment to understand, because there is a lot of code that is there. Okay. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm going into the JavaScript directory, which is really what Node.js is, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a connection to the Astra that we just created, right? So this is just a simple connection. I'm just going to run this, right? We set up all the drivers for you automatically when you brought up Git part. I can, we can talk about that. But really, I already looked at if you want to make sure that your username and password is set up, maybe a good idea to do this once. Okay, just do a quick git diff, and you'll see that the username and passwords have been changed and all that, and enabled and good to go. You will do the same thing in Java and Python. So now the first thing we're going to do is establish connectivity, right? So how do I establish connectivity for each of the language? A little bit different, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to just run so it starts the exercise and basically tells me that I am now connected to the Astra, whatever that name is, at whatever region this is. And again, going back to, where you created it, you created it US East 1, and I'm connected and good to go. Okay. So at this point, all that I've done is I've established a connection. What I suggest you do is basically look at this JavaScript driver, right? And essentially it basically, if you remember, we did a connection, right? So it requires the connection. So what you can do is you can take a look at the connection.javascript. Okay, it has the username, password, and all that, right? And then what I do is I create the Cassandra, provide the Secure Connect bundle, the username, the password, and so on. And on exit, I want to make sure that I clean up everything and I'm good to go, right? So let's go back and look at this JavaScript. And all that I do is execute the command, select star from system.local. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm picking up what cluster name it is and what data center it is. Pretty straightforward, right? If you do the same thing in Java, it's more or less the same. Okay, so I can show you the the command for running it in Java. Okay, and why not, right? So if you go to Java, a little bit different, but there is a little bit more setup with Java because you have to do a clean compile. Okay, and then you have to connect to it. Okay, I've done all this. So let me go into Java, right? So make sure, first thing you need to do is make sure in Java subdirectory, right? So let me do a clear, okay? And then what I can do is I can test this, connect to Astra. Okay, and hopefully keeping fingers crossed, right? It does the same thing, right? You know, it locates the connect bundle, connects to Astra, connected with the key space, and you're good to go. Okay. So now, since I'm in Java, let me continue to do that, right? Let me go back to, I can create a table, right? So if I go back to my, yes.
Yeah, so Rags, we do have a question. Somebody just closed the terminal quickly. So maybe you can just show the hamburger to create a new terminal in Gitpod.
Oh, yeah, okay. So basically you can click on hamburger, okay, and view, and just say terminal, okay? And you should be getting that again, okay? So same thing with Explorer, with terminal, you know, you can do anything you want.
By the
okay?
way, real quick, Rags, I think there are a couple of folks that are stuck on the Secure Connect bundle. I think from what I'm seeing in the messages, they may have put the bundle in the incorrect place. It might be worth, yeah, okay, to that, Tasif, you don't want the Secure Connect bundle file to be inside the language directory like Python or JavaScript. It actually should be at the root of the project itself, which is the Week3 app development directory. Then it will be available to all of them, right? So as a matter of fact, what step is that? That is at, yeah, it's step 5C. Step 5C, make sure that you are performing the CD, the change directory, Week3 app development. Once you're there, then that's where you can drag and drop your Secure Connect bundle into that directory. And I don't know if Rags, I wasn't looking at your screen.
No worries. What I did here is, you know, if you think you dropped it in the wrong place, what you can do is you can just do this: find /workspace minus name workshop.zip, and you will see here, you know, that I'm in this right directory, like in workshop full stack apps with Cassandra. Okay. If it's in a different subdirectory, you will have to just copy it from there. Okay, just make sure it goes in here. Or another way of working with this is, you know, if you look at connection.js, right? Essentially, what it does is it uses this particular path. Okay, you can change that path as well. So there are a number of ways of kind of dealing with it if you have dropped it into the wrong directory. Okay, all right. So should I proceed, or what should we do?
I think we can help some of those folks in the chat there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we.
Yeah, because we need to move on time-wise. We can just help them in the chat.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let me go back to my SQL shell here. Okay, and let me do a select star from to-do items. Okay. Am I using to-dos? Let me make sure. Okay, and if I do a select star from to-do items, nothing is there, which is actually good because we haven't created the table yet, right? So let's go back and create the table. And again, just refer to the instructions, right? So the first thing we're going to do is create the table, right? So let's create the table by doing this, you know, and this is going to be probably similar, you know, with Python, with Node.js, something along these lines, right? You know, just follow the instructions. And my apologies, I'm hitting the wrong one here. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and create the table. Okay.
Okay.
Cool, in Java, right? And just because I can, I will go ahead and insert it in Python, right? Okay, and hopefully it should, oh, that's not a good sign. Timed out. Okay. So let me try again. Okay, and sometimes, like I said, I know I've seen this timeout very rarely. Okay, thankfully that worked. Okay, now I can go back here. Okay, and now I should be able to see the items that have been the table that has been created, right? There is nothing in there yet, right? It's just that the table has been created, right? Now what I can go and do is, again, you can pick your own path, you can do whatever you want. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert to-dos using Python. Okay, so I'm going to go here, Python. Okay, and they're all pretty much the same. Okay, so here is the insert to-dos py, right? So I'm gonna and again, you don't need to do any of this. If you go back to Python, so if I go to Python, okay, and you see the insert tables, right? Create table exactly the same way, and then I insert the to-dos. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and insert the to-dos. Okay, let me bring this up. Okay, and I can do insert to-do. Okay, and let's see what happens here. Okay, so basically I got a success, right? And if I go back to and one of the nice things I like about the SQL shell is you can do the clear. Okay, if I do a select star from to-do items, what do you guys think will happen? You should be able to see the items that are inserted. That makes sense? And you can pick and choose. I think we established connectivity. We started doing some exercises. Maybe jumped ahead a little bit. But at this point, let's go back to the presentation. If you guys are good with the Secure Connect bundle and kind of familiar with Gitpod and be able to navigate that, give us a thumbs up. Good.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, and I will do a few slides, and you can jump in the chat rags and see some of the how the people might get, but yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot related to Secure Bundle.
Alrighty. All right. So I do see. I'm trying to send some folks over to the Discord. By the way, if you are having a hard time with the Secure Connect bundle thing, come to Discord. Give us a screenshot. It should help us a lot. But in most cases, if it's not finding that, it's just in the wrong place. So like I said, come over to Discord, give us a screenshot, and I'll try to help you out while Cedric is talking here.
Yeah, exactly. I think you see the three of us plus Alex and Stefano helping in the chat. So we will make it. We will make it. Okay. All right. So now, hopefully, you were able to connect to Cassandra Astra and create the table. So see, it was not required to be there week 1 and week 2 because with these 2 exercises, we did it all for you. So now let's put some data in this table. So no surprise to communicate with the database, you will need some queries, okay? In the database world, any queries is called a statement, okay? And with the Cassandra drivers, any query you will execute will be under the hood converted into a statement. And a statement is just way more than just a string. So, and you can see that on the next slide. And David, could you please move to the next slide?
Yeah, there you go. Sorry. I mean, answering something.
I could share. Okay, yeah. No problem. Okay, so simply put, a statement will have some metadata. No, just before. Yeah, here we go. So a simple statement will have some metadata. So that's one thing. And also in a statement, you do not want to write your queries as a single string, like the first one. Select star from T1, what's C1 equal 5. That's not great. You do not want to put the values of the parameters in the queries. Why? For all the what we call SQL injection, so somebody may want to, instead of putting 5, insert some malicious code here. That would be wrongly interpreted by your program and do some weird stuff, because he would know that this is how you implemented your queries. What you want to do is to put some placeholder. So see, second line, C1 equal interrogation mark. Okay, and just below we have add position value. So now the parameter is provided as an object, and as such, the driver could validate that it is the expected object, validate some rules, and execute and execute the query, build the query for you. It could be a question mark. You can also provide some names in your parameter. So line 3 here, the parameter is called myVal. And just below, you see that we provide the value 5 for myVal. So all three expressions are the same, 1, 2, 3, but 2 and 3 are way better in quality and security. Performance will be the same for now. Okay, so this is how you provide parameters. So next slide, let's see how you could do that on the other languages. So Java covered, just to have a deep dive. And in the node, the parameter will be as an array, second parameter in the execute method. Same for Python. Okay, and for C# is very, very close from the Java one. Okay, so in each time it's just session.execute. If you want to go asynchronous, you do have session.execute async. If you want to go reactive in Java, it's available. You can do session.execute reactive. So that's pretty powerful. You can be synchronous, asynchronous, reactive. All right. So more with those statements. The first well-called simple statement. This is because we can do better. What we want to do is what we call prepare the statement. At your application loading, initialization, you want to do session.prepare as here in the Java code. It will validate your queries. It will check that the table exists, that the column exists, the grammar is correct. We'll create a single unique ID and store this unique ID both on server side and client side. Okay, then when you execute any query, you can do prepare.bind and just provide the parameters. Here, only the parameters will be sent to the server, and you will gain some pretty significant performance because now on the wire, you do not send the full query, but only the parameter. The query has already been validated. So you can expect just with that, like 20% of performance increase just with that. And that's the order of boost that you can have. So just by thinking of preparing a statement, you do have this boost. Also prepare once, execute many times. So now it will be validated once and you can execute multiple times. So prepare that have the same on Python. On Node, you have to provide an object, the option object with the attribute prepare as true. And for C#, again, very close to the Java one, putting some capital letter in the first name of the method, but that's exactly the same if you look session.prepare and you get prepare.bind. So that's exactly the same code, which is neat. So please think about preparing your statement if you know in advance what your query will look like. If your query is dynamic, you can fall back to the simple statement. All right, so now you execute your statement. What you will get as a result is, surprise, a result set. Okay, in this result set, two big parts. First part is all the metadata. How much time does my query take? What is the log? Got all the execution info. Is it successful, not successful? Well, if it's not successful, you will get an exception, but at least you will get some statuses, what were the node invoked, and all the KPI you may want to save later in your dedicated analytics server. But that's provided for you at the driver level. Your job to publish that on an external tool. And then obviously your data. Your data is provided as an iterator. It's not a list. Cassandra will store, millions and billions of records in the single table. So this is the kind of database you do not want to do find all. So for performance reason, you will do a full scan cluster, remember, week 1 and 2, but also you will get a lot of Java objects. So best case scenario, you explores your own application with out of memory. Worst case scenario, there is an impact on the Cassandra node because you want to put too many things in memory. That won't happen. All the queries in Cassandra are paged. The default page size is 5,000. And so when you navigate through the result set, if you reach the last item of the page 1, under the hood, the driver will keep fetching the page for you. So if you do find rs.all, it will get the next page for you. So the recommended path is to put the page size you need, retrieve only the item you need, save the state, and later, when you need page 2, execute the query providing now the status, what we call the paging state. Okay, so here, what to remember, any single query is page, default page size is 5,000. And you can now, indeed, switch to the code and see that it's quite the same for any result. So you will get result set in Java, in C# and Python. And you get the const, not strongly typed, love notes, and JavaScript. Getting better with TypeScript. But here it's iterable, so you can have the first, and if you reach the last of the first page, you keep going. It's like a cursor in a way, Not the analogy is not the best, but this is how you need to think about it. Not everything is written on the first call. All right, so keep moving. So next slide, please. Parsing the rows. So you get a list of something, page. Okay, you got it. And this something is a row. So a row is, like kind of a hash map, key value, key value, key value. The key would be the name of the column and the value, because in a Cassandra table, you can have what we call sparse table. So that means in the row, not all the column would be populated. It's totally cool to have some null or empty values unset in some of the values, right? So when you get the row, you will retrieve each column with dot get, depending on the type you want to reach. So get type, get double, get integer, get UUID, whatever, and you will get the expected variables. And here in Java, we put var. Yeah, we are already in JDK 13. Yeah, let's put string here. Okay. All right. So for the node, you can see that in the row you can work as a JSON object, row.username, because this is how JavaScript JSON object notation work. In Python, you get as well the index notation, row.username, that works. And last but not least, C#, always pretty close from Java. Here you go, row.getValue, use the templates, a string to get a string, that name, username, and you back get your value. And this is exactly what you will do in the next exercises. Okay, wow, that's quite some stuff. Last piece, but not the least, is it's good to retrieve a row, but hey, maybe you do not want to, for each row, retrieve each column one after the other. You would like to do object mapping. You create an object having all the attributes you expect, mapping all the columns in your table. And then you define a mapper once. And with this mapper, you will be able not to retrieve a list of objects, a list of rows, but a list of the expected object. So that's pretty neat, doing the mapping from the raw data, raw RAW this time, raw data up to the object. And see you see 3 ways to do it. So Java, Python, and Node. But again, Rags will show you in the very last example how to implement those. And those will be used as is in week 4 just to expose an API to have all the to-do items, because an API needs some kind of objects. And with that, you should be ready to execute your first queries against your database. So now time to go back to hands-on and hope you catch up with some error you might have before.
All right. I know that some of you are experiencing some frustration, but again, you can just follow through the README. Several times, when I'm attending workshops, I've fallen behind, but we give you enough time to catch up. So there's plenty of time to catch up, no big deal. And again, we wanted to keep the material in today's workshop to a point where you can start running these programs. Okay, and once you have one running, it really after that it's pretty straightforward. I know there was a question about UUID, Wendy. I think Wednesday, is that how you say that? It's probably best to take it on Discord. Okay, because I think it may be a little bit more involved than what we think it is. So we already saw, a little bit of how this works, right? I think Cedric talked about how you get the different rows. Probably the best place to get started is get all to-dos, okay? And let's keep it simple. Let's go to JavaScript, okay? So essentially what we are doing here is we are executing this statement, right? We are getting everything from to-do items where user ID is John. And again, we have violated a lot of the cardinal rules that, we say you should obey, like putting the username, the password, in Java file, probably not a good idea. But, the idea again here is to keep it simple and get you up and running as quickly as possible, right? So, again, a select star from to-do items where user ID is equal to John is probably okay, but a select star from to-do items may not be a good idea. But keeping that aside, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to get back a row or rows, right? And essentially what you're going to do, like what Cedric said, is iterate through each of the rows. And that's why you have the iterator, right? So you go one to the next, to the next, to the next until there is no more, right? That's typically how you work. And one of the nice things about the iterator, it kind of keeps track of where you are, so that you can pick up from wherever you left it last, right? So with that said, there is, let's look at this get all to-dos in Java. And what I'm going to do is, there are a number of different ways of doing this, right? Getting the different to-dos, right? And here, there is a simple statement builder, and before that there is a create SQL session, and then you prepare, you basically get back what is referred to as a result set. And essentially what you're going to do is, again, you're going to walk through the result set one at a time, and then you're going to display it, right? But there are times when you probably don't want to treat that as a row, but you would rather treat that as an object. And that's where the object mapper comes in, right? ORM, or object relational mapping, is a big topic in itself. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the idea is that, you take a relational object and turn it, or a relational, take a relational data, okay, or a row, and turn it into an object, okay? So there are a number of different ways of doing this. Here I'm showing it being done manually. If you use some other platforms, they automatically do this for you. But essentially what I'm doing here is I get this result set back, and what I do is I turn it into what is referred to as a array list, okay, or a list. Again, a list is a list of items, as it says, right? And then what I do is for each of those items, I convert it into an object. I take the string, put it in user ID, UUID, string, Boolean, and so on, okay? And then for each of these to-do item, I basically print out the title, okay? So keep track of this, right? We have Mary, John, and we have attend the workshop, walk the dog, have lunch tomorrow, whatever, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to run this, right? So let me go back to Java, okay? But really doesn't matter. You can run it anywhere, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the appropriate command for this, right? So let me go back to my Java, make sure I'm in Python here, right? So go back to Java. Okay, and I'm going to get all to-dos. Okay, so there's a create table, there is insert to-dos, and now I'm going to get all to-dos, right? So if you open this, it will kind of walk you through it. Okay, and I'll show you this, how it works. Okay, so I just do open, and that's exactly what it did. You know, it opened up this. Okay, and if I remove this, then it'll. Okay, so it'll open me the appropriate file. And how do I run that? Again, you know, go back to your README and run the instruction, right? So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. Okay, and again, fingers crossed, we'll see. It's only looking for John's tasks, okay? And that's why I gave the walk the dog and have lunch tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And then there's other tasks as well. And then the final thing is this object mapper, the simple object mapper. And here what it did is it created the object mapper. And for some reason it's not working, and I'll have to look through that. I'll have to figure that out. But essentially what it should do is it should give you the the different tasks. So I think what I might have missed is that this is an iterator, and the iterator has already been set. But essentially you should be able to see the tasks that are associated in terms of the object mapper. So maybe we should set this as a homework, you know, for you guys to fix this, right? But you know, the object mapper part is still valid. And you know, if everything were to be working correct, then you would see all the different titles. Okay.
And just something to point out, I mean, for the exercises here in this part, obviously we're just have you doing, you know, rote copies, right? And you run the thing. We really encourage you to check out the code, look at the implementation, look at what it's doing, right? Because this, if you've not communicated with, you know, a database or Cassandra before in code, this will give you the basic template, if you will, that you need to do that in the language of your choice. So we definitely encourage you to actually take a look and kind of understand, you know, what's going on with the code, which will help you with some of the homework.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you take, for example, this particular insert to-dos, right? Pretty straightforward, right? You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious what it's doing, right? It's basically inserting into to-do items the user ID of John, user ID of John, user ID of Mary, and then the item ID, and then, you know, whether it's completed as true, false, true, and so on. Walk the dog, have lunch tomorrow, and so on and so forth. Okay. So with that said, let me show you one last part, which is my homework. Okay. I'm not going to show you the code for that. Okay. Because I want you guys to work on it. Okay. But essentially what I've done is I've created a very simple transfer to-dos. Okay. And the idea behind this transfer to-dos is you take all the to-dos and transfer it to me, and I'll take care of that, right? So again, let's look at what are all the to-do items, right? So these are all the different to-do items. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer these to rags. How do I run this? Yes, you guessed it. I just run the transfer to-dos.py. Okay, and let's see what happens here. Okay, so basically it's transferring, as you can see, rags, and all of them are set to false, as you can see here. Okay, so if I go back here, okay, and if I do the select star from to-do items, voila, you should have 3 more items, and all of those are assigned to me. Okay, you can remove the Mary, John, and John if you want, but you know, just for simplicity, all that you need to do is create this. But you know, critical part is that the completed should be false, right? And you're good to go. And you have everything. You know, I myself, I'm not like a big guru on Python, but I use the different exercises that are there in that particular directory and kind of cobble them together, because that's kind of what programming is all about, right? It's really about taking those building blocks and kind
Totally.
of putting it together to make it happen. Right?
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times writing applications, especially if you're new to a particular database or new to a language, like the hardest part is getting the initial plumbing configured, right, between what your application is doing in the database layer. And yeah, there's documentation and things like that, but having it kind of like here they are, his working code blocks is like extremely useful because you can just take it and kind of modify it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that, I mean, in 2 hours, you might think that, you should be able to get along further, but believe me, it's taken me a long time, and I'm pretty familiar with this. So we have tried to keep the instructions as clear as possible, but again, we'd be happy to get your comment, make it easier in the subsequent iteration. But with that said, anything else I missed, Cedric or David?
No, I think it's time to get over to do our swag quiz and everything. And if you didn't get through everything right now, that's totally fine, right? What Rags just brought you all through is actually part of the homework, right? So for those of you who are going to do that, then you can just continue that on, and you will need to do a little bit of work for the actual homework from the Google form and code as well. So I think we're good from that standpoint. Not only that, something else I'd like to encourage all of you to do. You might have the language of your choice, but if you're looking to it at all, kind of like look at other languages, it's kind of fun to go through. Like Python, I'm more of a Java JS person actually. I haven't done a ton on Python, so I found it a little fun to go through the Python code and kind of like figure that out and work with it a little bit to get me more familiar there. So it's all the languages are there. You can easily switch between them with the exercises. So I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, and that is why I took this this task to kind of do it in Python, because I mean, that's the one language I was not familiar with, and it did take me some time, but I was able to finally get it going.
Exactly. Okay, so with that, who wants to win some swag? Well, before we do the swag, Rags, you wanted to say something about the homework here that is on the screen.
Yeah, so I already showed this to you in action, but essentially this is what you want to do, right? You have the different to-do items.
Did you give them the answers? You totally gave them the answers.
I did not give them the answer, no, because you have to write the code though, right? But if you're looking for the output, this is how it should be. Okay, so what you would do is possibly write this program that I didn't really quite walk through, execg transfer to-dos that I ran, and kind of gives you an idea of how exactly it's supposed to work. Okay.
Alrighty, awesome. Now with that, now let's move into the quiz. I forgot that Rags wanted to do that part. All right, so let's go back to Menti, and I will give everybody a moment as usual. Now you should already be in, but if you're not, go ahead and take a moment to get back over to Menti. So this is for your swag quiz. Kind of finish up the day here. And here we go. Get everyone back in. Boom, 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 boom. Right. Now I'm gonna wait for folks. I'm gonna put this back in. We have some fun music. That's right. Oh, good. All right. I think it looks like we got about 60 people in. I think that's pretty good. So here's the trick with this, right? Your quizzes are timed. The speed in which you answer matters. So you need not only be correct, but you also have to answer fast. So sometimes we throw little curveballs at you, so be careful of that. But look at your phone. There's always going to be a slight amount of latency between what we're doing in YouTube and stuff. So make sure you're watching your phone for the questions, just in case there's a lot of lag in your stream. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get into our first swag quiz question. How many CQL session objects should you use in your application? 1 per connected client, 1 per application. As many as are needed. There are no limits to the amount of memory my app can use.
Okay, so
I wish that was true, right?
come on, please have these correct at least. Come on.
I don't know. If they get it wrong, we can blame Cedric. Let's just blame Cedric.
Exactly.
Oh, it's everywhere. Woo! But yes, it's 1 per application. 1 per application. That's a key thing. Now, Cedric alluded to this earlier. The CQL section objects, and actually Rag said the same thing. There's a lot going on with each individual CQL session object, right? You have connection pools, you maintain your cluster connection, metadata to your cluster. All that stuff is happening in that session object. You only ever need one per application, right? Because if you duplicate these, you're just, that's why we have the little joke there at the end. There are no limits to the amount of memory my app can use, because those session objects, they're expensive, right? So you only ever need one per application. That's all you need. All right, so let's see what our leaderboard looks like. Oh, I see Lee's is up on the board. Again, I want to take every opportunity I can to say Lisa's name. And Mark with the fastest response. Awesome. At the top spot right now. John in number 2. Lee's in number 3. Rags, is that you? Are you playing today, Rags?
I'm playing. I can never, match the speed.
What do you guys think? Rags is playing against you, and you guys are already beating Rags. All right, let's see what happens.
I know.
It is hard, honestly. Even when I know the answers, some people are somehow very fast. All right, next question.
I mean now in my family now we are all playing Wordle, and I'm always the last one here.
Really?
Why should you prepare
Okay,
statements?
full disclosure, we have no.
Oh, prepared statements are required to speed up queries, to ensure they are ready for the send stage, to properly cook them for guests. I always like to prepare my statements for guests.
Yeah. Time for the question. Yeah, no, just saying that we are building a Wordle on top of Astra right now for another one.
I know, I haven't looked at it. I seen that you guys were doing it. All right, wonderful. Yes, the majority of you got that right. To speed up queries. That is the key thing. And by the way, I'm going to make the argument that unless you have a really good case not to, you should always be preparing your statements. Like what Cedric said earlier, if you truly have a dynamic query, or if you know the query is ever going to truly ever run once, you should absolutely prepare them. One thing we didn't really mention earlier is that when you don't prepare statements, when you just use a simple statement or whatever, every time that query is run, it has to parse and compile it and do that. When you prepare it, it's done once, and then it's cached up on the server, right? It can significantly reduce the amount of network overhead and such that you have, especially in the case of Cassandra. If you're executing thousands and thousands of queries a second asynchronously, right? You really want to prepare them. So anyway, the key thing there is to speed up queries.
And I got my first error. You didn't vote in time. So I'm not doing well.
All right, let's see what the leaderboard looks like and see how well all of you are destroying Rags. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so Mark again with the fastest time. John number 2. So Mark, John, and Lee's are just holding those top 3 spots there. Rags is nowhere to be seen at all.
I know. I didn't vote.
All right, going to the next question. Question 3 or 4. Get yourselves ready. Prepare.
But it's still anybody's game, right?
Anybody's game. How do you properly define a Cassandra data model? Oh, going back a little bit. With the conceptual data model in application workflow, with the logical data model, with the physical data model, with copy paste from Stack Overflow. It's so true. I do love that. It's so true. Let's rock out. I'm rocking out. I feel like I should be working out right now. All right, and oh yay, the vast majority have got that right. Yes, you start with the conceptual data model and your application workflow. Both the logical data model and physical data models are derived from using your conceptual data model and your application workflow first, right? So a little bit of review on that one. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, give yourself a pat on the back if you did not attend the previous 2 weeks and still managed to get this right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed. All right, let's see what our leaderboard looks like. Did we make this too easy for Mark, John, and Lee's? I think. Oh, I see. Dragonite is working up though. Dragonite, you're close there. You're close. Oh, and Lee's takes the second spot, pushes John up, but still in the top 3. Mark is holding on to that lead, and Rags yet again is nowhere to be seen.
Close.
I don't even know what to, how is Mark answering so fast? That's what I want to know. How are you doing it, Mark? How are you doing it? All right, let's see. Question 4. This one is for all the marbles. Let's see what happens here at the very end. What is object mapping used for? Helps to write CQL code, eases dev with associated table mapping to objects, connects objects to each other, for finding objects on a map. I do like that one. I mean, I want to find objects on a map. All right, a little bit more of a spread, but the most of you got this right. Yes, to ease the development associated with associating tables to objects. And it doesn't really help you write CQL code because a lot of times you're doing it in a more fluent style and stuff anyway. You're kind of breaking up the CQL, and it doesn't really, it's not responsible for connecting the object, right? That's where the session comes into play, etc.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the examples don't use the object mapping. Although I'm sure next week you're going to be using it a little bit more.
Exactly.
Oh, a little bit.
Prepare yourself. Cedric is going to make you use the mapper. That's what he's going to do. All right, let's see what. Here's the leaderboard.
More time in...
Uh-oh, I think John got knocked out. Jogging Dragon, I got knocked out. Oh, look at how it changed at the end. So Mark is our winner. Flying Shoe comes out of the bottom list, and Lees takes number 3. So congratulations to our 3 top. So if you're one of our top 3 winners, Mark, Flying Shoe, or Lees, take a screenshot of your app right now, because you're going to send that on to Gary Harvey at DataStax.com. We're going to show that to you in a moment, but I want to give you a moment to take a screenshot to get that so you can get credit and get your swag.
And I know it's a little bit too late for Sylvan, who said, am I mistaking our mobile is lagged versus desktop? Yes, unfortunately. Actually, it's the other way around. The desktop is lagged versus mobile. Just for the future, if you're playing along, I think it's easier to look at your phone and do it. At least for me, anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, hopefully you all have your screenshots. And with that, I'm going to put up a quick survey for you to give us some information, and then we will move on. All right, so if you were one of the top 3 winners, if you were first, second, or third place, please send an email to gary.harvey@datastax.com and include a screenshot of your Menti screen of your win, right? And you will be sent a voucher to get your swag, and congratulations, thank you. All right, so next week, we've said it a couple times, next week is going to be the final week of our Bootcamp series, where we're going to focus on APIs and microservices with Magic Cassandra. So taking the knowledge you've gained today and everything, and then pushing that out to go to the next step with APIs and such. And again, if you haven't done it already, join us on Discord, because we can help you out a lot more there, especially if you have homework questions or whatever. Again, once we end the session today, then the YouTube chat will stop. So by the way, if you do in the YouTube chat, I'll just go ahead and just do it. If you do it, bang Discord. Boop, Nightbot should give you the Discord link, and you can join that way. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want, well, why would you subscribe, right? For one, if you like this workshop and the kinds of materials that we have, then when you subscribe, you'll automatically get notified of our upcoming workshops. And not only that, we have a ton of other content. We have influencers that are outside of DataStax that have been doing things with Cassandra and Astra. We have other types of content that we put out there. There are self-service workshops. There's all sorts of topics and everything that are covered, more than what we're just doing the boot camp. So it's worth taking a look at the YouTube channel. And with that, thank you, Rags, Cedric. Anything you guys want to leave folks with?
No, it was great. We will play the very same session in 13 hours. So, if it's late for you and, you want to catch me tomorrow morning, I will be ready to replay that content in 13 hours.
Yeah, I know Mark was a little bit frustrated there. Mark Smith, if you have the time, the patience, the inclination, whatever, to attend in 13 hours, feel free to do so. Otherwise, come to Discord. I think one of our objectives, David, Cedric, and myself, was to finish on time. And more or less, 9 minutes is okay.
We're on bank time, right? It's bank time.
Yeah,
exactly.
Doing good.
Right, well,
really want to appreciate the time that everybody has taken, and to kind of
absolutely
deal with some of the vagaries of a new workshop, right? So.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
Well, thank you, everybody, and take care. We will see you again in the future, and have a good day. And as always, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell to get notifications for all of our future upcoming workshops.
Imagine a being gifted with powers from the goddess of Cassandra, who grew those powers until she could multiply at will, move with limitless speed, and unmask hidden knowledge. With those powers, she was able to fully understand the connectedness of the world. What she saw was a world in need of understanding. From that day forward, she sought to bestow her powers on all who came into contact with her, empowering them to achieve wondrous feats.